right? Yeah. Okay, so you can follow, saving data in one list as we have done previously, right? Where you can actually save some data and across wherever you want, you can actually access that. But um, that is something which we are doing completely manually. But Android provides few things like shape preferences or some storage parts, right? Where you can actually save data in a smart way. You can management of data will be very easy if you actually learn these things. Okay, so among these things are very important, which are shared preferences, right, and internal storage and SQLite API. Now external storage, right, it completely depends on maybe some people may be using smartphone and they may not be using external storage, right? So external storage is something like micro SD card or right or hard SD card. It all depends on the phone configuration. Some people may not be using, right? So we can't more rely on mostly on external storage, right? Yes, if you can give an option to user that yes, okay, if you want to select, you can actually select. But basically, we will be using these three. We'll be concentrating more on. Anyways, I'll show you how we can actually do this part too. But actually, this will not work until unless we use a direct phone, right? And yes, this part, which is SQL API, very important part. We'll see different things in SQLite part, and we'll learn how we can actually code on SQLite. We'll see each and every DML, how to delete, how to insert, how to update, how to select, right? Most of the things, how to query it, what is the best pattern which we can use to actually use these things and all, right? We'll see this. And
so
after
what shared preferences are exactly?
Sorry.
Shared preferences.
Okay, shared preferences. Yeah, shared preferences are like this is like a common storage. Like these are files actually in Android, files which you cannot access them, right? So basically what happens, you can actually create a shared preferences with respect to your application. So with respect to your application, you can actually create some shared preferences files. So we won't be creating any file system here, but we'll be using streams, file IO streams, in order to access this.
Is it like Bluetooth or something like that?
No. This has nothing to do with external entities. No, it is not that.
I mean, what we exactly share?
Share in the sense, okay, you don't go into this name. Sharing in the sense, see, let me give you one live example. So the same example, let's say you have a Gmail app or Facebook app, okay? So if you have a Gmail or Facebook app, so what we'll be doing is, you will actually log into your Gmail or Facebook app once, right? After that, whenever you try to open your Gmail app, what happens? It will directly go to your inbox, am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So intermittently it will ask, do you want to save your credentials or not, right? Now, if you say yes, right, so these things will be saved in your shared preferences. Shared preferences is nothing but a file where you are going to share some data of your app into those files. That's it.
Okay. And what about this file uploads and downloads? Is it come under this part or?
Sorry, you're talking about file?
Job.
So yeah, we'll see that part when we are in one of these sections. Okay, I'll explain about file uploader too. Okay, so yeah, and one more thing is this multimedia part. So these things also will be used at some place where this one is a important one, which is text to speech. So nowadays it is booming market, right? So if you want to provide a speech API, right, rather typing into your app, right, you can use this API actually. So that's why I've included this one. So I'll show you how to use that. So we'll be using again the intent part, everything. See, whatever you want to use across advanced, right, everything will be using intent in different ways, right? We'll see how to do that. So we'll be actually checking out this multimedia part first, multimedia, where in multimedia we'll be checking out these three first, okay? The first part in advanced we'll be checking out. That this will be very straightforward, so you don't have to actually much rely on your own custom things, because Android latest versions have given much good support on this, and I'll show you how we can actually use these things, right? Playing audio, video, or this is something which is going to be from text to speech API. But anyways, it won't run in our emulators because they won't be support, but you can actually run this in your mobile phones. Okay. So first we'll see that part, which is multimedia, and then storage part first, which are very important. Then we'll come to the next topics, right? Okay then. So let me create a new project now for multimedia. Multimedia, let me give it as SR, next, finish. Okay, so here first let us see how we can actually, so what is the first one? First one we'll see how to play an audio, right? We'll see how to make use of that. Okay, so let me create a new activity here. Let me create Android activity, next. So let me give it as play audio activity, okay? Click on finish. So let's go to the main activity. So when main activity loads, let's call the play audio activity. So let me create an intent here. Main activity dot this, comma, we have something called play audio activity dot class, and then you have intent. Start activity of intent. Okay. So this will actually take us to the play audio intent. Okay. So we are done with our main activity. Okay. Let's go with this. Now here, so let me take two buttons. So one button here and another button here. So what the main context here is, so we'll take an audio file. Right, we'll take an audio file and we'll see how to play and stop that audio file. Right, so that is what we are going to do now. So for that we need an audio file. So I have just copied one of the audio file from internet. Actually, I just copied one small audio file. Let me just take out that audio file from. I don't know. 1 second. Let me just check it in my hard disk. First let us create this. Let me go to this button. Let me call it as BTN play. So let me give the name as play, and next one is BTN stop. Let me give the name as stop. BTN play and stop. Okay. So now let's go to play activity. Yeah. Now before actually handling this play and all, right, we need a audio file, right? So let me go here. I have taken a tune here, a simple tune. Let me copy that tune. Now this tune you always have to copy it in one file, right? So under the resources, right, you can actually copy them in any drawable and all. But normally the files like multimedia files, right, we always create them create them under one folder name called raw. So this is a standard folder name which we'll be creating under resources. So by default it won't actually give us a raw folder. You have to create a raw folder here and you can just copy it. You can see it will be copied here, which is tune mp3 tune, right? So let me go back here to main. Now here let us see how we can actually do that. So we don't need any options here. Now first let us select the button clicks here. So let me take button LBTN play. Find view by ID. You have R dot ID dot BTN play, right? And then you have something called button LBTN stop. Okay? We'll just take it as find view by ID R dot ID dot BTN stop. Perfect. So let me take broadcast. So here what we are going to do here is we'll just say LBTN play dot set on click listen. So on click of play button, let's see how we can actually play that. Right? Set on click listener. So for this on click listener, let us implement that interface here itself. Implements on click listener, and let us say it as this. Fine. So for this on click listener, we have to handle click event, right? On click event. So this is on click event. So when I say BTN play dot set on click listener of this, right? So whenever I click on this button, so it will actually trigger this event. In the same way, we will also handle the same event for stop. Set on click listener, and we'll see how we can actually handle two things at one place. We have already seen this, but let us see it again. Okay, so this is something where we are handling our button click events. This is some other way of actually handling button click, which you have already seen. So here let me create try catch. Here now whenever I click on these two buttons, right, same event will be triggered, right? So we have to differentiate which one to handle. Now here what we can do here is I can write a switch where I'm going to have v dot, we have one method called get control or view ID or get identifier get ID, right? So this ID will actually give the hexa value of this button. So when you go to this button, right, so this is ID actually, which will be stored in your resource files of the project, right? So that is an ID, right, which will give us an ID of this current view. So we have to map that ID with our cases. So first case, let us take it as r.id.btn play. This is my first case, and the second case is btn stop, right? So these are two cases I have where I have a play button and a stop button, right? Now, so when I click on play, right, so what I want to do is I want to play this tune. That is our next thing. So for playing any media file, right, so we have an internal class under activity called media player under amber.media package, right? LOBJ media is equal to null. So here whenever I click on play, what I want to do, so I have to handle that part in here, right? So let's go here, let me call it as LOBJ media is equal to, we have media player dot, yes, we have something called create, right? So I'll be taking the context and resource ID, you have direct r dot, you have something called raw, right? You can see raw folder dot tune. Now this will actually give us a direct hold of media for this tune, right? So once we are done with that, so what we have to do is we can just take it and just say stop, sorry, dot your start, right? So media player, just create the media player instance for the corresponding tune which you have, and then assign that to the media player object and click on start. This will actually start your media player, and when you click on stop, so just check whether your media player is not equal to null, right? Because basically whenever we start up this, right, So initially the media player is null, right? So that is what we have here, right? When you click on stop, then what you have to do, just say media dot stop. So once it is done, just assign it to null, okay? And just say, sorry, unequal. Just say toast dot make text of application context. So media stopped, something. And duration, let's take it as toast dot long dot show. The same toast let's create here and just say media started playing, right? Very simple, I think, and we'll see more once we actually check this out. Okay, so this is how we actually handle the audio file, right? Media file actually. So let me run this.
Srinath, can you explain?
Okay,
Srinath,
which part? Yeah.
just the create part.
Okay, this part. So what we are doing here is, see, so we created a media player instance, sorry, variable here, right? So this variable, what I'm doing here is I want to instantiate that variable only when I click on play, right? Unnecessarily I don't want to create an instance. Now here, how can we create a media player instances? We have to go to the class directly. In media player class, we have a static method called create, right? So this create method, if you pass on your tune path, right, what it will do, it will actually give this tunes holder to this media object,
Well,
right?
I mean, you have to give the arguments, get application context and the file name.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
This file name will be taken up from directly. If you mention anything under resource, right, it will directly will create a separate class file under raw. If you can see here, under the resource file, right, R, it created one separate class called raw, which we have created, right?
Yeah.
And for the corresponding to tune, right, without an extension, it will create a separate ID for you. And we are going to use this ID in here,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So this will be mapped to this, and whenever we say start and stop, which means we are actually pointing to this media file. Okay? Okay, let me run this. So basically we'll map the same thing to notification. You can map this to notification. I'll show you how we can. So normally whenever you get any notification, right? So you get some alert sound, right? Some alert sound. Maybe you can use the same concept to create another alert sound or some alert sound for a notification too, right? Normally we do have that.
One more thing, Srinath, you will play the audio files back to the background, I mean, as a background activity, right?
Okay.
In our phone. Like,
Okay.
we'll play the audio and we'll see something like a mail or we'll do other things.
You can do that here. You can do that.
So now, I mean, is it we have to explicitly do it as a background activity, or it will automatically go when you open the other application?
Okay, see here, this media player, right? This media player object, what we are talking about is, right? So this is basically for playing all type of media players first, right? So if we actually go keep this activity in background form, which is some suspended state, right? Which means even then background process should be running actually. Let us see how it works, okay? We'll see that part.
Okay.
Is it started? Where is that? Okay, let me run this again. Okay, yeah, we got it. When I click on this, yeah, so So that is how it plays. Click on this, it immediately stops. I don't know whether you guys are able to hear it or not. But I can hear that actually. You can try out this one.
I heard.
You heard?
Very
Okay.
well, but I heard.
Okay, perfect. No issues. Okay. So that is your play, and click on immediately stop. Right. Normally, what we do is, so we will be having one more thing called pause and play, right? Right. We can also create in the same button. So when I click on this, it will be running, and when I click it again, it starts again. Can you see that? So that thing you can actually create it up here itself, right? Again and again. So when I click on button play again and again, what is happening here? How many objects it will create? It will create a lot of, it will create hell number of objects, right? Which means it will actually, stack up our activity a lot with this object creation, right? So that is very important that you have to handle, because wherever you are creating an object of media player, right? Which means it will actually point, every object will be pointing to this tune, right? So for that, normally do this part. So wherever you are creating anything, just take it as something called LBLN is playing. Let's say initially it is false. We'll see. So wherever you actually, in whatever example you see, right? Definitely wherever you are actually creating very crucial objects, right? And if there is an scope of creation of the same again and again, you have to make sure you are creating it right. So let's say if I'm handling this, LBLM is playing, that what we are going to do, we are going to do dot stop, right, and then we are going to nullify that, and then we are going to make it false, right? And once you play it, then we have to, so once it is played, then again we have to make it true, right? So this is what we have to do, so that it will actually avoid creating multiple instances of same media player, right? But yes, it will actually work in the same way, but the only difference is we are not stacking it, because obviously if you are talking about smartphone, right, obviously the memory will be limited for your phone, right? Then obviously you have to make sure that you're actually saving your stack memory in your phone. So it starts.
Can you explain this part again?
Sorry, yes, Nabila, what is that?
Can you explain this part again? I know you are trying not to stack up all the objects which are creating every time our media player is running.
Yeah.
What exactly the logic you are using? Displaying is every time it's spelling constant or what?
Okay, so I've actually used a small logic here. I mean, it's a straightforward logic where what I'm taking is, whenever I'm clicking on play button, right? Right? What I'm checking is, I'm just checking a flag that if is playing is true, right? What I'm doing, I'm manually, I'm actually intentionally stopping the media first, nullifying that object, right?
Okay.
And making the flag false, and then I'm creating a new object for the same variable.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so with this what happens is, every time you are going to create a new object, you are making sure that the old object is being nullified, right? So here, you don't need any garbage collector sort of thing where it is nullifying your objects again and again, right? So that is the main advantage you are actually creating to this, right? So that is, now you can, if you go to play, click on play, click again, see, it is taking some time, right? It is taking some time because we are stopping it up and nullifying it, and then we are actually calling this. So let me just make some small gap, thread dot sleep of some maybe 10 milliseconds. Now you can actually make it up. Now this all depends on how you want to make your app work, right? So this is the concept how we can actually create a media and run your own team actually. So now this media player is nothing but an Android's internal media player, right? So they have exposed this media player under android.media what is that, Android.media package, right? So this is the same thing where if you are actually running any media player on Android, right, it will be using this API, right? So here, if you click on this, see, click on this again, it will wait for some time and then it's there, which means you are nullifying it, right? So that is how you can actually do this part. And basically don't forget to do one thing. So once you are done with try catch, right, always try to handle it finally, right, and dispose that object. Just say if LOBJ media is not equal to null, then just say dot stop and nullify that. Nullify and just say boolean thing is false. That's it. So even if any exception happens, doesn't matter. We are making sure that the media player object is cleared up. Right? So why I'm actually talking about much on media player is, see, so most of the apps we are using, right, they will be actually using this media player internal API of Android, right? So if anything stucks up, right, maybe I mean in other apps maybe the media may not work. That is the main thing that I'm stressing, that make sure that you're actually disposing the object if you're not using that, right? So this is how we can actually use media player class internal API of Android to actually play your this. So let us do one thing. So as Geeta was asking, let's click on play and click on home. Oh, it did play. So let me go to multimedia. Click on play. Okay. So until it plays, you guys understood why it is not playing, guys? Any guess why it is not playing? Anyone? I'm clicking on this, but it is not playing the tune. Now? Anyone? Now? Why? Because as soon as we click on this button, right, it is coming to this event. As soon as it starts playing, it immediately got break and immediately it came to finally. What we are doing here, we are just stopping that immediately, right? So that is the reason why it is not playing. Now if I remove this and if I run this now, that's fine. Maybe I was taking some extra precaution which actually killed my business. That's fine. So here I just go to console. So now click on play. Now it will work. So let me click on home. Was it working, Geeta? Click on multimedia. Click on play. Click on home. Go.
Yeah, it played once. Maybe if we have the
What we have to
longer
do.
music file.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe if you have longer music, then.
Since it is a short one.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. I just wanted to take some decent one, not like rock music, right? It won't. Yeah. Maybe you guys can just try whether it is working or not. If it is not working, let me just check out. Okay. No worries on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Srinath, I have a question.
Yeah, Geeta.
like what is there any limit on the file size
No,
to
no, no,
store
no.
in
It all depends
your
on, yes,
source?
yes. No, there is no limit, but only thing is if it all depends on your, it will actually increase your APK file size again.
Right.
It is not going to compress your file normally, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it will compress. I'm not saying that it is not going to compress, because all the APK files, right? It will actually keep all the all the files, all the internal classes, all the layouts, everything, right? In byte form, right? Everything normally in index form, right?
Yes.
But what happens if it comes to multimedia? Even if you zip your multimedia, right? What happens? You know that, right? Even if you zip it, it will be heavy again. That is
Yeah,
that
it's
is one.
already. Yeah.
Uh,
So,
Yeah.
I mean, can we access this media files remotely? Say suppose I'm having
Okay.
a song already stored on my PC, or if I can play it directly from the internet or something like that.
Yes.
Uploading the code
Yeah. You can.
to my
Yes.
yeah.
I got your question. Yes, you can do that. Now, actually, see what the only thing is, you have to make sure that you're actually giving the tune to this. That's it. It will actually take care of that. It can be remote, or
Sometimes,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes if at any case if you don't have any file to get it downloaded, so you can just pass the URL or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes what happens is, in your media player, right? You can see here in a create part, right? You can see URI, right? See, media player, you can actually create, right, in different ways. You can give, if it is over the internet, you can actually give the complete URI. We'll come to this URI part, right? We'll be using this URI when we actually come to next one, which is immediate one, video player. I'll show you how we can actually access this video player using not internet, definitely not internet, because it is going to take a lot of time, because we have to create separate pattern for that. But I'll show you how we can actually create an URI in Android. Okay. But yes, you can use this URI as a, if you know that, you see, every every song will have its own URL, right? You can actually mention that URL as a separate URI. If it is capable of downloading into cache, it will download and play. Right? Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Srinath, this
Yeah.
is Sandhya.
Yeah, Sandhya.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, how about like sharing the file through Bluetooth or
We'll come to that. We'll come to the Bluetooth. Yeah.
Okay.
We have Bluetooth part. Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah. I'll come to the Bluetooth part. Yeah. No worries. Fine. Okay. So, any more questions, guys? Is that clear? Anyway, this is something which is a straightforward, but no issues. Okay. So let me just go through. Okay, you want me to show this to for notification, or you guys can do? You want me to show that? Yes, no, can't say. Okay, let me show you that.
Yes, please.
Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just create a raw folder. It's a straightforward one, no issues. So click on folder, make it as raw, finish. Let me take the same file in a raw folder. Oops, just copying. Oh man, it killed. Okay, perfect. So now let me close these things. Let's go to notifications activity. So this is a place we are creating. Yes, we are creating this, right? So anyways, once we are done with creating notification now, we are going to call this media player. multimedia player dot, so we have create, so application context, and just say r dot, we have raw dot, we have tune here, and then they just say that media dot start. That's it, simple. So wherever you want, you can just check in this. So let me run this part. I'll show you what exactly was. So normally what happens is, if you create a notification, right, Android by default will give the default alert for you, right, normally. And sometimes you can actually provide custom tunes for your own application, right? So this is what actually I'm showing here, right? So let it run once. Sorry. Could not find APK attachment. Activity. Okay, so click on this, right? Now you can see the notification. Okay, so that is how you can actually integrate your tune with your yes, okay, fine. So let's go ahead and check out the next part of our multimedia, which is a video part. Let me create a new other activity. So let me just say it as video play activity. Click on finish. So in this go here. Let me delete this part. So here, let me first go and change the main activity here, which is video here. Activity. Group the class. Now here, what you can do here is, so in Android, right, you have a default video player, so where you can actually get it from multi images and media video, right? Let me just drag and drop here. And basically if you are working with multimedia video file, right, so always try to create your apps which can accept MP4s mainly, right? MP4 is like your PNG. PNG will have more clarity and of less size, right? In the same way, here your MP4s will be in that form, right? So that's why I just converted one of the file to MP4. Let me copy the samp1 is my media file, right? So let's go to raw again, and I'm copying that video file here. Sorry. Yeah, we got that sample, and we are going to play this video on this player, right? We'll see how to do that. So let's go to XML view. Let's go to video player. Fine. So here, first part, let me just click on try catch. Now here, first let's get the hold of video view. Video view LOBJ video view is equal to find view by ID. So let's give some decent name for this. Okay, video view 1 will work. R dot ID dot video view 1. Right. So here, after giving video view, now we have to create a URI path here. So URI is something which will actually an internal class of Android.net, right? So let me create URI is equal to, when we are going to create a web service, right, which is our last topic of our Android, there will show you how to create an Android app which can access web service. So from web service we are going to get things dynamically show it on screen, right? At that part we'll see how we can actually create a, and which is like, you are actually interacting with the internet, right? We'll see how to do that part. So URI, and so how we can actually get it is here internally we have to get this URI path from internal to our application, right? So we are going to map our something called path, which is from file, or we can also get it from directly from your path or parts of your string. So here we have to give you a string. Now the string we have to give is Android dot resource, because we are going to get the things from resource, right? Plus, so from where you have to get, so we will be getting from our default package, which is our get package name dot toString. So in here, in default package, so default package in the sense it will directly get it from our resource and wherever we are going to give this ID, which is r dot. So we have done that under raw dot, we have sample. So this is how we are going to create our URI, right? The parts in this string. So this is completely converted to string. Android dot resource colon, and we have package name. In this package of our default package, so this is a file which we are about to see, which is r dot raw dot sample. So this is how we actually create a URI file. Now once you are done with URI, now you can actually give that URI to your video view dot. We have something called set. Is it URI? No, it is set video URI of your URI file. This is your URI, and then here you have to set something called controller. This is very important. Now what is controller is sometimes if you want to just play your video without forward, pause and all, right, you can directly give video URI and just start it, right? And if you want to give control to where he can actually pause it, fast forward or backward to do, right, then you have to set something called video media controller or set media controller of this media controller of, you have to give some instance of media controller. Now I want to give media controller for the current instance of activity, right? So we'll just say media controller, come on, media controller of context. So you can directly do application context, or as of now we are not interested in application context, we just want to get an instance or controller for the current activity, right, where I'm just giving this. And then, so once you are done, you can just give start, it will start the video. So once you start, or before starting itself, so if you want to directly give some focus, you can directly give some focus called request. There is something called same. You will have the same internal attribute of video, which is request focus. Right? You have many things. You have request focus, set controller, and URI. Right? So these are two things which you can have as an add-on. And once you start, this video will actually start up on the activity you have created. So let us run this and we'll see if it runs or not. Sometimes if your emulator is not compatible for that, sometimes, right? Sometimes your emulator will be too light that the videos may not play. Don't worry, try to play it on your mobile phone by connecting that to your Eclipse through the data cable or Bluetooth. It should work. Let us see whether it works into our now always remember, whenever you are trying to interact with the internet to actually display some data, right, always, you should always do it in a separate thread. We'll come to multi-threading part, how we can actually create a background process for our activity, right? So installing multimedia APK, come on. Okay, now you can see it starts playing. Okay, I mean, as I said, this is something which it is going so slow actually. So when I click on this, right, you can see these controllers will appear. Click on this, controllers will appear. Click on pause, it will pause. Click on fast forward, it will actually go to forward, right, backward, and then play again, right, sorry, and then pause. Okay, so I just got this video as MP4, that's why I just took this Tom and Jerry. Yeah, so this is how you can actually play a video. And if you want to play a video over the internet, if you want to buffer it out, right, you can actually do that part, right, you can do that. Where if you see our YouTube, right, it is something which buffers over the network, and based on the buffering, right, whatever it gets, it will actually show it on your screen, right, you can do that, right. But basically we'll be using something called video view directly to actually show on your activity. And video view, basically what happens is, based on your resolution of your screen, right, I mean resolution of your video, right, it will actually auto size that video part, right. So that's how we can actually create this. Now this is how we can actually work with audio and video part, how we can actually run on our Android activities, right. Now any questions in this? It's pretty straightforward, you can just try this out. I'll be sharing this same files, you can actually use that, right. So once you are done with this, right, so let's go ahead and see the main part, which is text to speech, right. So have you guys came across text to speech anytime, guys?
Yes.
You would have, basically, yes. Now where basically you would have seen that first part, maybe you would have seen that part in your Google search, right? Am I right?
Yeah, Google.
Yeah, Google search, or yeah, and maybe here you would have got through Android, have got inbuilt speech option, where what you can do is, if you want to search a complete Android phone, I mean internal things or even over internet, you have one single app, right. You can just press on the home button, it will actually open two things. One is process thing, and second thing is it will actually open your speak to phone, text to speech separate activity. So with respect to speech or with respect to the text you are actually providing, right, it will actually take the text, convert it into text. It is a complete Android API which we are going to use, and based on the text it is converting, it will actually search in your directory of your phone and over the network. That actually happens. So we'll see how we can actually use that part in our activity. How we can create that part. Right. So let me create a new activity here. So let me call it as text to or text from speech, maybe, or text to speech. Normally we call it as text to speech. Finish.
Srinath, I think it converts from speech to text, right?
Yes, it is like text from speech basically. Text from speech. You have to yeah. Normally yes. Yeah. So here what we are going to do here is, so normally you would have seen something called mic symbol, right? So you already have that inbuilt to your Android. I'll show you that. So let me take this image button, click on, okay, so now as soon as you take image button, it will ask for image. So we'll just go to system resources. In system resources we have so many default, like you have delete, alert, come on. Now this speech button that will not work in my emulator. I think even it won't work. It may not be working. You can just try out, okay? But if you try the same thing in your phone, it will work definitely. We have something called button speak now, right? So this will actually give you inbuilt speak. Now these images are something which are Android standard images. Actually, you can use them. It's legal. It's legal to use system resource of Android. This part. Right? So click on OK. So yeah, this is your button, image button got created. So let me drag this, or you can use your own custom button you want. I'm just showing you that you can actually use this part.
Srinath, that's what is called easy voice recorder, right, in Android phone?
I'm sorry, no, I'm not talking about voice recorder. No, Adila. Voice recorder is something else, right?
But this icon always comes with.
No, actually yes, voice recorder will also use the same API to record a voice. Yeah? Because what it will do is, voice recorder will actually take out the voice, and the same voice will be a result, and it will save in your storage, right? But here what we are going to do here is, we are going to take a voice, we are going to convert it, we are going to convert it to maximum possible text, right? That is what we are going to do. Let's see how we can actually do that part. Let's go to speech. Now here, let me go to try catch. So first let us take that button now here. So parallel to button, right, parallel to a speech button, take one text view too, so that you can actually show the data to the over here, right? So here let me just take it as image button speech and text view. Let me call it as text view speech. Something. Go to this class. So here what we are going to do, first let us take the text view, both the text view and speech. Text view, let me call it as txt some speech data is equal to null, and we have image button LGBT is equal to null. Now we are going to instantiate them here, which is txt speech data is equal to find view by id r dot id dot we have text view speech. In the same way, lbtn l image button is equal to find view by id of r dot id dot image button speech. Perfect. And then typecast it. Typecast this one too. Now what we are going to do, we are going to handle that in our image speech. So this is something which is same as our button, which is image button dot set on click listener. Right. So let me implement that on click. Implements on click listener of view. And just say this. So whenever I click on this, I want to handle something, right? So initially what we'll do, we'll just keep the text data as empty. So before after this, just set text of some. Perfect. Now once we're done with this, so let's handle the on-click listener part. This is something which is very important. Now here again, so what we are going to do here is we are going to actually access the internal API of, speech API of Android, right? So for that, in order to access that, again we have to use an intent. Intent, let me call it as lobjint is equal to new intent. Now what we are going to use is we are going to use an intent of some action. Intent of, so we have something called recognizer intent dot, we have many actions on that. Now you can see we have something called recognize speech, right? You can also have voice search, web search and all, right? We are going to take our recognize speech, perfect. Now this will actually create an intent, and this will directly access the speech API, speech recording API of internal activity, right? So here what we are going to do here is we have to mention, basically normally by default it will be English. If you want to mention it separate, right, you can actually give the language. That is something which is you have to provide as a parameter, right? So where you can actually create intent dot. So normally by now you would have understood how you can actually parameterize your intent, right? Which is your put extra. Now here you have to give the some key. Now you can't give some hardcoded key, right? You have to use the inbuilt key. So which is again, let's go to recognizer intent. We have the intent dot. So all the extras will be in your put extra, I think. You have your it is in dot, okay, it is in extra dot language preference or language model. Which language model you want to use? So let us say I want to give English, which is en-us. So this is something which is standard, right? By default, even if you don't give it, it will be en-us, right? And then now, so we'll be using something called action result. If you remember, intent action result. So whenever we want to start this as a separate activity, right? Separate activity in the sense this speech recognizer will open as a separate intent. Once you actually give any speech to this activity, again it will close and it will give the result back to this activity. Now we are going to give it as start activity result. We have anything wrong in this? Start, activity for result. Yeah, you have to provide your intent, which is this and request code, right? You can actually call this many times, right? So here let us say I'm going to give one is a request code for speech recognizer, right? So once you are done with this, then it will actually open up that. So while calling this itself, anyways, we have cleared it out. Now once it is done, so once you call this activity for result, it will actually open your speech recognizer. So once you give speech, it will actually recognize the speech, close the activity. So once the activity is closed, it will actually give us the response. So that response we have to handle in our on activity result. On activity result, we have an overridable method, right? Which we have already seen in our activity result part. Now here we are going to handle that part. It will be a straightforward thing. So here, the first thing what we have to understand is, so we have to make sure the request code here is same as this, right? Which is our request code is equal to 1. This should be correct. And you have your result code. Result code should be your result. Okay. So these two should be correct. Right? We are actually giving this. Now, if this is fine, so if you want to check, you can also check. You can also check your intent as if it is not equal to null. Sometimes if your result, because we are not going to handle this intent, right? So this intent is going to open the activity inbuilt activity, right? So that's why you have to make sure that all possible checks are being done. So if it is not null, then what we have to do here is, so this data part, data dot, it have something called get string array extra. So all the things, right, all the speech you are actually giving will actually read and convert as an array list internal to activity, right? And that will actually give us a array list of string generic type, right? So here we are going to take this, and here we have to give the key as recognizer again, intent dot, so put extra. So here we have to give extra underscore results. We want all the results to be given. Now you can see this will actually give you a string array, right? A string array, you can directly take string array, or let us take array list so that you don't have to mention some size for that. So you have your string array. Let me give it a string, and let me call it as LOBJ, sorry, LARRLST response. Right? Now, if you are so what's up here? You can type password, or you can make it as string array. Doesn't matter. Right? Get string array extra. Okay, that's fine. We have taken string array, right? You can actually take it as string array list, the best one. You don't have to worry about the size you are getting, right? And convert it to your array list. Now once you have got this, then just say string lstr current text is equal to, you have array list dot get up. It will always give you that in your first index. So again check whether your array list is null or not. This is not equal to null, the first check, and second check will be if your array list dot size is greater than 0, right? Then only I want to read it. So let me put this here. So once it gives, then let's text view. No, we have already taken this, right? ltxt speech data dot set text on the current text. Now this is how you can actually handle the response part. Now what we have done here is we have created an intent, right? So where in this intent, so this will be same, guys, even for our Bluetooth, right? Any API which is our Android inbuilt API, right? If you want to use any API, this pattern will be same, right? So you just have to mention what is the action you want to get. So as of now, we are checking something called action recognize speech, right? And we are starting with reserve. So this will actually open up your speech recognizer. So once you do some voiceover, so then it will close. The response will be handled over here, and it will actually convert the speech. It will actually convert that to some English data, and will give us back as a bundle. So we are actually trying to read that bundle in a string array list form, right? String array list form, which will give us an array list string. Now in this string array list, we are getting the data on at the first index. So that is what we are reading, and we are mapping to our speech text data again. So this is how we can handle this part. So we don't actually can't have access to converting and speech to text. If you want to do that, you can also do that. Then again, you have to write a separate API for that. Right? Now let's go ahead and run this. Actually, I don't think it will run because your emulator will not have speech support. But let us see whether I have this or not. Okay, so if you open up, oh, sorry. We have to change in our main activity to text to speech. Okay, you guys can change this text from speech maybe. I just got habituated with this. So. Now here itself you can see that even in your Google here, right, there is no space symbol, so which is not supported, right? It should be there if it is supported. That's fine. So okay, okay. Text to speech, click on this. I hope it should open up that. Why it is not opening? Okay, I think it is the same thing happening. Start at first. Let me do one thing. Let me create a toast dot make desktop application context. Let's save. So I'm just handling this part so that we can actually see whether there is an error. If there is no support, obviously you have to show the error. Let me show that same part here. Let me run this. Maybe I'll just say error at handle. Okay, it is more than 1 MB these files, so that is why it is taking so much of time, because we have so much of raw files been uploaded, right? So even the APK size will be more. So click on this. Okay, no activity handle found, so recognize, it can't recognize it, right? So you can run the same thing in your mobile phone, right? The same APK install, and this should work with respect to your mobile phone. Fine. So this is how we can actually work with our multimedia parts. So basically, three different main things: speech, video, and audio thing, right? Where you can actually substitute these three things anywhere you want with respect to different situations. As you have seen something on notification, in the same way, you can actually give a separate example for that, right?
Srinath?
Yeah, Naresh.
Yeah, actually this text-to-speech only works for in Android, only works for the Google or any other search. I mean, it also
No,
works
anything,
now.
anything. No, anything.
Why? Because I never seen this text-to-speach in Android and other search engines.
No, there are so many.
No.
See, in current market, right? So many e-commerce apps, so many things. They are actually introducing text from speech from text, from
Okay.
speech to text one. Yeah, they are introducing so that it will be a quick instant search which you can actually include, and they are
Yeah, we can
actually
only.
yeah. They are introducing.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Fine, so that is how we can actually work with this. So let me share this, try out a few things in your own guys.